How are you guys doing?
Holding up, I guess. I could speak for everybody who's been on these calls. It's like we'd like to see everybody in person and do these in person, but obviously that's not going to happen anytime soon. Um, I guess I want to look at as a former player and having dealt with um, the lockout shortened year in 2011, and I mean, at least you're getting Zoom calls in through this period, so there's some interaction with the players and the coaching staff. How much, though, do you what effect do you think this extended layoff, might have on the players, and how do you work or draw upon that experience to help, I guess, inform you going forward?
I mean, I think it is way different. I think they're separated from the team, but to me, they're way different. And the reason why I think that is, when I was a player, when we had the lockout, we were still able to work out together. We were working out together every day. Now, I was at another gym, on our own, but we had our own trainers. We did our own thing, and we did a lot of time. We followed, the programs. We were doing the same stuff. We were all competing against each other, all that stuff. These guys have had a completely different challenge. They have access to us, which we didn't. We didn't have the playbook. We didn't have communication with the organization. So you didn't have any, not only just the playbook, but anything outside of, the player development, all the things that are so valuable in success of a player or of an organization. You couldn't take advantage of those. So these guys, they have access to that, but here they were with no working out by themselves. I mean, they were working out, I've seen them lifting couches, it's completely different. So to me, they're like two polar opposites. And I think the only thing I can draw that's similar is you got to rely on your leadership to really take control and really lead the group. And they've done a great job of kind of doing it on their own, of, hey, encouraging the guys, because it's a lot of this stuff is trust. We trust our guys. They're making sure they're working out. Finding a way has been the slogan, and find a way to work out, find a way to build that camaraderie with each other. Again, so to me, they're two different, but there is some similarities for sure.
Who's lifting couches?
I saw a video. I was actually very sadly disappointed to see this. It was online, of Andre Roberts, and I'm thinking, what is he, a 10+ year veteran, doesn't have workout equipment, he's literally lifting a couch. So again, it's crazy to me, but that's find a way to do it. I don't know if you guys can hear it right now. John Feliciano lives right next door to me. He works out in his garage, and I'm shocked if you guys can't hear the music blaring. He's got music blaring, and the whole neighborhood hears it. So it's just different time. This is way different. I mean, literally, it's it's crazy. It's way different than it was, I think, during the lockout.
Fair enough. Thanks, Heath.
No problem.
Hi, Heath. Sal Capaccio here, WGR. Great to see you.
Sal, good to see you guys.
I'd like to ask about year one. You came in, you were 37 years old, first time as a special teams coordinator, coordinating your own unit. What did you learn from your first year that you can really take into your second year?
I think once I slowed down, I would say at the beginning of the season, I was going 100 miles an hour and really trying to just make sure I had it all figured out. But once I settled down I would say mid-season, it really calmed down for me. And it's like a player, when you see it slower, you just really, I feel like you call the game better. You're seeing it better. It's more clear. So I think going into this next season, I feel like I just got such a clearer mind and just see the whole game, see the whole process, whether it's installing meetings like I'm doing now. It's just way cleaner and way clearer, I would imagine, for the players. Sal, I lost you a second. Sorry.
Can you hear me right now? I'm sorry about that.
Yes. I just couldn't hear that whole question.
Can I ask, did that happen during the year for you at some point? Did you kind of make a mindset shift, or did that happen when you reflected at the end of the year?
No, midseason, and I can't give you the exact game or anything. I think it was a gradual, just kind of where I just realized, man, I can do this. It's, it wasn't overwhelming for me, and just understanding and relying on, Coach McDermott has been great mentoring me last season and just kind of working through the process of calling a game. He had such experience, obviously as a head coach, but going back to his coordinator days, I relied on him a ton to kind of mentor me as calling a game. It's literally, you're calling a game as a D coordinator, you're calling a game as a special teams coordinator. So relying on him, and then Matthew Smiley, who is just done an unbelievable job as my assistant. He's right there with me and really has kind of progressed, our units in general has just come along a long way. So just trusting our guys and relying on those two guys to really bring me along. I feel like there was a lot of improvement. Now I realize there's a lot to go. Just only getting 1 year under my belt, but I feel like I've definitely, go have a lot different mindset going into year 2.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, how are you?
Matt, how are you? You doing
good? I'm good. Thanks for
Good.
taking the time today. We've got a chance to talk to Tyler Bass a few times, and obviously Bills fans have been enjoying his videos. But he told us a cool story about how you were the only special teams coordinator at his pro day. And I was wondering from your perspective, what the process was like, scouting him and evaluating him, and maybe if there's anything along the journey that really popped to you where you said, man, this is a guy I really would love to have in the fold.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to right after the season, us coordinators and Coach McDermott, and of course all the scouts, Brandon Bean and the rest of the guys, go down to the Senior Bowl. I knew nothing about Tyler at all going into the Senior Bowl. And of course, I'm just getting the list. And at that point, the scouts know everything about every single player. But as coaches, we don't know a ton. We're kind of just getting off our season. So now it's getting right into the college guys. Right away, I'm just seeing just the elevation, the talent, just at practice. I remember the first practice, going to the end zone and just seeing the ball flight. I mean, he was kicking some deep kicks, just impressive. And that's where it first got my attention. Then going back after that, going back and watching the tape, and seeing the talent, seeing the upside in this kid, and just really thought there's a lot of potential. Again, seeing it firsthand, watching on tape. Then his pro day. So I was fortunate to get down to his pro day. It was right about when everything started. Okay, everyone stopped flying, that kind of thing. So I had a couple other trips lined up. Went to go see him. Was glad. Literally, it was literally the last trip out. Like, hey, come back home. I'm coming back from Georgia. So went to dinner with him the night before the pro day. Really got an opportunity to understand what he's about, understand the competitor that he is, the mindset, the toughness, how smart he is as a football player, not just as a kicker, the understanding of the game in general. I think the overall package really kind of said, because that's what you're looking at when you're interviewing him and you're meeting him and taking him to dinner. You're saying, can he fit in with our guys? Does he fit our DNA? Is this what we want in our program? And everything I met with him, I was super excited at what he had to offer in that aspect. I remember calling Brandon Bean, on the way home from that trip, like, this guy, he could fit our organization for sure. I liked his mindset, liked the kid. It was early on, but just my initial reaction was really good. And the next day at the pro day, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, and the next day at the pro day, again, I was fortunate. I kind of looked at it. I kept thinking to myself, I was hoping that we got lucky because everyone was kind of getting pulled back right around that time. I just happened to be out there. I feel like it was almost a little a great deal for us to really get an opportunity to get in front of them, because there were so many guys you couldn't get in front of it during that time when pro days were being canceled, all that stuff, that I was able to get there and see him firsthand, kicking. And I saw the same thing I saw, at the Senior Bowl at that pro day. I mean, it was, the talent, of his kickoffs, his field goals, again, everything about him, the mindset. I remember going out to, getting to the pro day, not a single person on the field. And I hear it from outside the stadium, I just hear the boom, and I go around the corner, but by the ticket office, and I realize he's the only one out there, and he's out there warming up. It's a very talented kid. So that's kind of the progression. Of course, I kept in contact with him, go leading up to the draft day. I was hoping that we'd get an opportunity, that we get an opportunity to draft him, and the guys, Coach McDermott, Brandon Bean, felt equally as high on him, and know he's got tremendous talent. And so that leads me to, it's an open competition. I mean, it's not his job by any means. It's Steve's job, right now. He's the incumbent. He's had a lot of big kicks, over his career. I mean, the history of good kicks in big games in the playoffs. He was 4 for 4 last year. I mean, he is, he's still the guy, and it's up to Tyler to beat him out.
Sorry, I don't want to monopolize too much of this, but is that kind of tough for you? Just because, I mean, for people that don't know, you go back a long way with Steven. I mean, to Seattle,
Yeah.
And there's a real relationship there.
Yeah, and that's there's a great relationship. I go back with Steve to 08 with the Minnesota Vikings, and he wasn't there long. Now he was just there for an off season and a training camp. But we go back a long time, and we played a lot of games and won a lot of games in Seattle together, and a good friendship. And that's part of the deal. That's part of the business. You develop these relationships with these players and possibly teammates, and that's part of it. I have a pretty good relationship with all my players. That's the good thing about it, is I have a good relationship. I'm starting to build a good relationship with Tyler. We've really hit it off and talk on the phone all the time. And so, yeah, that's the nature of the business. I'm hoping, for the best for him, and I'm referring to Steve. Steve, right after we drafted him, I remember calling Steve and I said, hey, there's 2 ways you can go about this. You can shut it down, but here's the deal. You can take this as a challenge and win the job. It's your job. It's your job. You go out, do what you do, and you're still playing. And we'd love to have you here, and we want you here. So that's the beauty of sports, football, and in general, it's competition, and it's going to be a great competition because they both bring different things. It's Steve's accuracy. We love where he's at inside 49 yards. His leadership, his big kicks in playoff games. I mean, those are big, man. That's a big thing, that he brings. And then you have a young player like Tyler that is loaded with talent, that has a ton of upside, but he's got to prove it in the preseason and training camp.
Great stuff. Thanks, Heath.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, thanks for doing this for us. Appreciate the time.
No problem.
From the meetings that you've had with players and just interaction that you've had with players during this time, a lot of new guys on this team, a lot of new opportunities, of course, on special teams with some of these younger players. How have you seen either the younger players or the vets in that room go out of their way to start to build relationships with some of these newer players in a time where they can't see each other face to face, and that probably won't happen until training camp?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our guys are keeping in good contact, whether it's getting together on the side, whether it's playing video games together. We got a bunch of young players that I hear, on the calls, pre-meetings, they're saying, all right, let's get on the game tonight, and again, that's way over my head. I don't play video games, but again, they're doing a good job of staying in good contact with each other and have good banter back and forth, and so, yeah, I mean, I think with our culture that we have here over the years, I think that, the good players that we have, the leadership, those guys have really brought guys out and really made sure any way we can to keep them connected.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, Heath, how you doing? Jay Skursky with the Buffalo News. Thanks for doing this. What can Tyler Matakevich bring to you guys on special teams?
Yeah, good, Tyler. So Tyler, I've been following Tyler. I've watched the way he's played for the last couple of years when I was in Carolina, we played against him. And he is a guy, every time you put the tape on, he is an animal. He flies, it shows off the screen. He plays with passion and toughness. And in the last season, of course, we played against him. And I remember, we have these pre-week meetings, where it's early in the week, a Tuesday, and I meet with Coach McDermott, and I usually give him the early evaluation of who we got to block and the tough, good players and this and that. And he's the guy said, this guy's as tough as you'll see. He's a tough matchup. Who are we going to get to block this guy? This guy is a matchup problem. And so he's a guy that I've kind of targeted, was hoping we'd get an opportunity to bring him in. I think his toughness, man, I think that's really what you're going to see. His tenacity, his toughness, his competitiveness. You're going to see a motor out on the field that's just going to bring our special teams to another level.
Yeah, can that be kind of contagious and sort of transform maybe an entire unit, which is, what you'd be hoping for?
Absolutely. I think we built something last year of guys taking pride in special teams. It was kind of a building block last season. And then to add a player like Tyler, it's unique because I think his ability from that position, the core guy, is a talented player that's just going to be a leader on special teams as a core guy. You need those four-phase players that just bring that toughness, that toughness that every time you cover a kick, he's going to be a guy they're going to have to circle all week. I mean, it's a guy they're going to have to double team. He's going to be accounted for, but it's his ability to get off blocks and free up other guys and leadership. Bringing a lot of guys along. It's so much of special teams just playing with effort and energy. He'll bring that 100%, and then his ability to lead the guys, man. It's whether it's on a Tuesday having a punt meeting, those guys get together and to lead that meeting and to take charge of the core group. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to rely on a ton.
Yeah, and then to follow up, you talked about the kicking competition. You've also got one at punter with Corey Vedvik now here to kind of challenge Corey Bojorquez. In regards to Vedvik, he's had a sort of a tough go of it here in his NFL career thus far. What was it about him that made you say that, we think he's best at punter? And, how do you kind of size up that competition, I guess, between those two guys?
I mean, Corey Vedvik, he is a very talented kid. We had the opportunity to bring him in for a workout towards the end of the season. And I remember him lining up a 70-yard kick and then punting after that, and just with big ball punts. And so he is a guy that is loaded with talent, big leg. We just got to develop his consistency. He is, I know he's improving. Nobody works harder. I mean, that kid is, he was staying down there in Alabama and training with some guys, and literally a couple weeks ago, he got up and rented an Airbnb close to Ferguson down there in Georgia. So he is a guy that will do whatever he can. He's picking Reed's brain. He's having, I know Reed has him over, for dinner, and Reed's really taken, this group, every single one of them under their wing and just providing some leadership. So all of them are kind of, relying on him a ton. So I think Corey, I think he is a guy who's really going to, push a Corey Bojorquez. Corey Bojorquez is the same as Steve, right? It's his job to lose. He is loaded with talent, but we just need a little more consistency out of him. I've seen more, I believe that Corey is doing whatever he can to do to be better. I know he's ordered a jugs machine and is able to catch punts off that. I know at some point he wants to go meet up with Reed and work with him. So everybody's kind of, Reed is bringing it all together by himself and really just organizing all those guys, and they're all relying on him. So I think we have a very good competition, not only at the kicker position, but at the punter position, that when it's all said and done, I think we'll have a really good guy that it's really going to be a real, asset for our team.
Thank you, Heath.
No problem.
Hey, one more quick one, Heath. I was talking to Lorenzo Alexander 2 weeks ago, and one of the things that came up was how much he missed Taiwan Jones last year. And I wanted to ask you, if you've been able to kind of dive into the tape on Taiwan, your familiarity with him, and what he's going to add now back in the mix.
Yeah, well, first off, Zoe, I miss Zoe tremendously. Zoe, he's actually been sitting in some of my meetings and chiming in, and he's going to be a valuable resource for us. Again, I'm going to miss him on the field. I'm going to miss him in meetings, as a player, but he's going to be a valuable guy that I told him he can come in the meetings anytime he wants. And like I said, I love that guy. As far as Taiwan is a guy that obviously I've watched over the years, going back to his Oakland days. I mean, I've watched him and targeted him for a long time, kind of same as Tyler, but he is, we played him, of course, the last game of the season last year, and he was a guy that, same thing. We had to target him all week going, this is their best gunner. He is a talented player that we got to find a way to stop him. The same thing as is on his punt return. You very rarely see a guy that is from the running back position that can line up outside as a corner on punt return and hold up a guy one-on-one. So, again, a talented player. When we had the opportunity to bring him back, Brandon Bean, reached out to me and said, well, do we want him back? I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not even a question. I would take him back in a heartbeat. He's a guy, you could see the players, gravitate to him. They love him. They're super fired up to have him back. All the guys who played with him, years ago. And even, I've even had many conversations with Lee Smith, who had him in Oakland and just, thinks the world of him. So he's a guy, again, with him and Saran on the outsides, as my, penetrating fives and gunners. We have two very, very good gunners that are really going to, control it on the outside for our cover units.
Hey, Heath, Sal Capaccio again. When you're in a fantasy football draft and someone steals the guy right before you, that's what Perino just did for my Taiwan Jones question. So, but it does give me a chance here. I do want to ask you, hey, what's your thoughts on Reed's brother Blake getting drafted by a division rival? I'm sure you've gotten to know the family a little bit and how crazy and cool that is.
Yeah, I love Blake. I love their family. I was super excited. Of course, I spent some time with him down there at the Senior Bowl. He comes up all the time, throughout his college year, whenever they had a bye week or something. So I've got to know Blake really well. And then even leading up to it, I had a feeling Danny would, pick him. I think that's a great spot for him. I'm going to hate to play against him, of course, because I think he's very, very talented. He's just like Reed. We love Reed, and Blake is just as talented. And like I remember talking to Reed, leading up to the draft, and I know at some point there was thought that it didn't cross our mind that Danny would pick him up. And I think, it's a great opportunity. I know Reed learned a ton from Danny, and I think it could be a great thing for Blake, because I think Danny's a talented coach that has a ton of knowledge and was able to help train Reed and get him ready for the NFL. And I think he's going to do the exact same with Blake. And Blake will play for a long time, and I just wish he didn't have to play those two games against us.
Thanks.
Hey, Heath, it's Jay again with the Buffalo News. Just wanted to ask you, overall, when you look back at your first season as
Jay, I lost you for a second, buddy.
Sorry, Heath, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Heath. Sorry, you may be frozen. I don't know. I hope you can hear me now. But I was going to ask you just overall about your first season as a coordinator last year. You guys had some miscues. I think the New England game, the missed kick against the Cleveland game. What is maybe the biggest thing that you learned from your first season as being a coordinator?
I think just be more aggressive. I think just sit back and let things happen to us. And that's part of my progression. And kind of what I was referring to earlier is part of my progression was to be more aggressive, to kind of figure out a way to not be on my heels, as a young coordinator, and make sure we're aggressive and taking advantage of when we see situations. Those are two ops that I'd like to have back. But I guess I just look at it more positive, and I felt like, there was a ton of positives that we could take out from last season. that we did some really good stuff as a unit.
And then in regards to Andre Roberts, he makes the Pro Bowl, but I know he was pretty disappointed that he wasn't able to break one. Do you feel like with some of the additions of Tyler, of Taiwan, that you're maybe a little bit closer to getting him to have that game-breaking touchdown play?
Yeah, I mean, I think adding those guys will help. It's, you guys probably hear this all the time, but we were so close on a handful of those returns. We're one step away that you're inches away from breaking it. And I'd love to, and that's one thing we've talked about a ton is figuring out a way to make sure we can get them loose, just to get them to the next level of getting them to score. One of our goals in the return game is score, set up a score. And Dre has made a point to tell me that he wants me to take off to set up the score. He said, let's just take that portion off. So it's an emphasis, and it's something that I've studied all off season in my studies of how can I figure out a way to break him free and to make sure he gets that next level to score.
Thanks, Heath.
No problem.
All right, that's it. So thank you, Heath, and thanks everyone.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good weekend.
Absolutely.